Doreen walked home slowly, her 3 animals at her side. She had just left a very rattled Millicent, who couldn't find the jewel she had been talking about. Doreen didn't know if Mack's mother was serious about her story or if her memory was starting to go, and maybe she was imagining it all. Doreen hoped not, because it sounded like a fun new mystery and likely to be something completely harmless. She was getting tired of being attacked on these jobs. On the other hand, Mack wouldn't like it if his mother was involved in one of Doreen's cases. As Doreen and her animals hit the creek, she turned to see Goliath dragging behind. She crouched and called him to her. He stretched, looking toward her. She smiled as she reached an arm around him, picked up the big orange Maine Coon cat, and continued along the path on the creek's edge. Goliath was perfectly content to be carried, only then Thaddeus wanted up too. With Thaddeus secured on her shoulder, he stared at Goliath, clearly unimpressed at having to share some of Doreen's love and attention. She reached up a hand and patted Thaddeus too. "You're fine, Thaddeus," he crooned in her ear, gently rubbing his head against hers. Then Goliath reached up and nudged her with his head, which was his way of mimicking that he loved her too. Muggs took note of that, but was clearly assured of her love for him, as he seemed to smile at them too. She chuckled and, with her hefty armload, continued toward her place. The river was higher than it had been, but she wasn't up on the details of the fluctuations in water levels. She knew sometimes it rose with the water coming down off the mountains, with the highest levels in the wee hours of the morning, then receded and sometimes rose again, depending on the temperature and the snowmelt. But now it was definitely higher, and the sound of the river babbling beside her was lovely. Although named Mission Creek, it was river size, and no way would she try to cross it right now. With the water's force and flow, she doubted she'd make it without being swept out to the lake. And that thought reminded her of another case she'd previously worked on, where a little boy and a handyman had gone missing. She was grateful she'd managed to find their bodies in the lake and to bring the family's closure. She didn't want to think about the ice pick scenario she had just dealt with. She wanted to enjoy days of gardening and visiting her grandmother, and maybe finding a second-hand bookstore to take the place of the library, so she didn't come under the gimlet eye of the librarian on the night shift again. Back home, she lowered Goliath to the ground as soon as she came around the corner. "You can walk the rest of the way, Pudge." Muggs barked at Goliath, then ran a short way forward before slowing down, dropping his big nose on the path and sniffing. She stopped and spied some new boards stacked on the ground by her house. She frowned and headed for the side of the house closest to her neighbor, Richard de Janeiro. Everything was still here, all the big cinder blocks and the beams she and Mack had stacked there, but now a bunch of 2x4s had been added. As she carried on to the front of the house, she heard another big clattering noise. It was Arnold, the older cop Doreen had met on her first day here, delivering the 2x4s. "Hey, Arnold, you got those to spare?"
"Sure do. My wife has been on me about cleaning out that shed," he said. "I don't know how many of these at length you can use, but Mack said to bring it all, and he'd take care of getting rid of what you don't need afterward."
He grinned at her.
"Best deal yet. I can save myself $10 not taking it to the dump."
"Right," Doreen said, as she looked at the wood, "and hopefully you will have a use for them all." Then he brought out 2 very long and fat boards. "Wow, what are those for?"
"They're perfect for stair stringers," he said, "depending on how many steps you'll cut in."
She nodded, as if she knew what that meant, though it made no sense to her. Why would you have string and steps in the same sentence? Surely steps should be made from something solid. But then, as she studied the boards, they looked like they were pretty solid, at 1.5 or maybe 2 inches thick, and they were really long. She didn't know what length for sure. Still, she was happy to have them. "Do you know how long they are?"
"They're about 4.5 feet each," he said, "and I've got 4 of them."
"What were you doing with them?"
"I was supposed to put steps off the deck, but then my wife changed her mind and wanted railing all around the top."
Then Doreen understood. "Got it. That's what these are for. The steps off my deck."
"It will cost you a little bit more money," he said, "but if you can get some more spare pieces, you'll be doing fine."
"I sure hope so," she said. "I'm still trying to figure out what to put on the surface."